If you don't think these are the best vegan, whole food, plant-based brownies you've ever tasted, you don't know beans. And I say that because they are called outrageous brownies. They are made with black beans. No one will know. You won't be able to taste them. So they're super healthy, nutritious, lots of protein and fiber from the beans, and really easy to make. So we're going to start with our food processor fitted with the S-blade. And I am going to add my beans. So I am using one 15-ounce can of salt-free beans drained. If you would prefer not to use canned beans, you'll simply need to make them yourself and use 1.5 cups, because every can of beans has approximately 1.5 cups of cooked beans. Then we're going to add our cocoa powder. This is a light colored one, but because the beans are so dark, it will still be nice and chocolatey. But a lot of times I'll use the much darker cocoa powders. They even come in black. We're going to put that in. And now we have our rolled oats. Now, you can grind these into a flour if you want, or buy oat flour, which is more expensive than just buying oats. But I have found that they pretty much dissipate when we cook them anyway. You know, rolled oat, it's actually the third incarnation of the oat. We start with the whole oat groat, which is, I think, the most wholesome and healthy way to eat oats, and delicious, actually, when you cook them. They're very toothsome, like rice. The steel cut oat is the oat groat that's been cut in half. So each time you process it, it takes less time to cook. And actually, you could argue makes it a little bit less healthy. Not that it's unhealthy, but the rolled oat has been steamed. It's been flattened, or maybe flattened first, then steamed, then flattened again, so that you could actually just rub it in your fingers and it kind of turns into a powder. That's why I don't even bother grinding them anymore, but you certainly could. And then we have our date paste, which I'm going to put in. I always keep it on hand. It lasts for months in the refrigerator. You can also freeze it if you don't use it often. And our non-dairy milk. I tend to use almond milk. That's my favorite. And then we have our baking powder and baking soda. I always use aluminum free. And if you prefer, you can get sodium free. I'm going to tell you the truth. There have been times where I've been out of this and I didn't use it. Recipe still came out just fine. And then we are going to process this until all the ingredients are fully incorporated. You know, if you have all your ingredients, what we call mise en place, ready, and especially if you use canned beans, this really doesn't take any longer to make than opening up, you know, a box of Betty Crocker brownie mix. Oh, this smells so fudgy and so delicious, and you will never know there's beans in here. So I am going to pour this into an 8 or a 9-inch. I'm using a 9-inch, but an 8-inch would work fine. This is a silicone baking pan. I have had this, I kid you not, for over 15 years. They last forever. They are so easy to clean. And especially if you cook and bake without oil, cleanup is a breeze. You will save not only calories and time when you don't use oil, but your cleanup will be so much easier. Let me show you a little trick. There's a lot of batter that's caught on the blade. A lot of people just wash it, but that's not how I roll. I put it back on. I pulse just for a second. Thank you, sister-in-law Lauren, for teaching me this. And now, through the magic of centrifugal force, my blade is virtually clean. But more important, look at how much batter was left. I would estimate that's at least almost another half a cup, which is more brownie for you. Now, when I teach for Dr. McDougall's program, this is how I make it. But if you're making it for company or people that aren't used to eating plant-based, I like to make it a little bit more decadent by adding some non-dairy, date-sweetened chocolate chips and some pistachio nuts. It makes it look pretty. So what I do is I do what's called the drop and plop. You can use an offset spatula, but I don't like to dirty things. So I just kind of do the drop and plop to kind of get it evenly in all the corners. If you use an 8-inch pan, the brownie would be a little bit thicker, but I find I get more brownies out of this. And then, if you like, you can take non-dairy chocolate chips and sprinkle as many or as few as you like on the top. Adds a little bit of crunch and, like I said, a little bit of extra decadence, but it's completely optional. And if you wanted to add some nuts also, or instead you could, I've tried this with like different nuts, like peanuts. It didn't float my boat with peanuts. Pecans were good, walnuts were good, but the best nut, in my opinion, for desserts and especially for these brownies is pistachios. I buy raw pistachios. You can get them roasted if you like, but unsalted for sure in desserts. And then we're just going to sprinkle these over the top. It's just, they're pretty. I've chopped these finely. And again, you can use as many or as few as you like. Just gives it a nice little color. Covering the batter on top. And then I just gently press it down with my hand so that the topping sticks. And if I see a part where there's still batter, I'll just cover it up. They smell really good. And I'm just going to use them all. What the heck? Then I can surprise people that get the chocolate chips. I chopped them anyway, so nobody complains if there's too many nuts. There we go. And I'll just show you the brand that I buy at Whole Foods, but you can get date sweetened chocolate chips online, and there's other brands as well. So I'm just going to place this in the oven, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. I know it's hard to wait, but please, please always let your baked goods cool completely before slicing. I like to cool them on a cooling rack. Then we can cut them into any size piece you like. This would be great with a nice cold glass of almond milk. It's so pretty with the pistachios on it. It's fudgy. It's amazing. You could probably get 16 of these out of there. I don't know if you can see how fudgy it is. And there you have it. Outrageous brownies. No one will know it's made from black beans.